Good afternoon, everybody. Live from outside the Fargo Dome, it's the Bison Media Blog pregame show on a brilliant October Saturday as we get set for North Dakota State hosting South Dakota. Along with Jeff Kolpack and Eric Peterson, I'm Dom Izzo as the Bison get set to host the Coyotes from USD, going for a 27th consecutive home win. Jeffrey, I think most Bison fans are still maybe catching their breath after how last week's game ended, with NDSU coming back and beating Northern Iowa 4-1, maintaining first place in the Valley as they get set to host USD later today.
Well, I'm still catching my taste buds after Mona Vraz chili. It's so nice of the Bison receivers' mom to bring me some, and we'll talk with Doug Vraz later in the show. But we'll see how NDSU rebounds after such an emotional win last week. And on top of that, you had UND to start, then you had Northern Iowa.
South Dakota State thrown in there.
Yep, all these rivalry games. We'll see how it plays out today.
Big E, I think also a big concern is what happened to the Bison defense in the fourth quarter. I'm not sure how much to make of that outside of the fact that Northern Iowa is a really good team. Aaron Bailey was an FBS quarterback.
I think there's probably some things scheme-wise they did wrong or missing a gap or not getting the right fit, but at some point you got to give credit to a good athlete, and Aaron Bailey's a great athlete, you know, in the mold of Trey Roberson. If you give him space, he's going to make a big play, and they just gave him too much space on some runs last week.
Let's talk about where this game fits in the schedule. Is this, to you, at a perfect time, knowing it's Indiana State and SIU on the road for the next 2 weeks?
Well, are you assuming it's a cupcake game today?
USD has struggled against NDSU. I do know that.
They have been outscored a lot to a little.
147-7.
As good nerd stat there. I don't know if ever a perfect game in the Valley, because it's a physical conference, and you know USD is going to bring it all. I think what's concerning NDSU is, okay, what have they not shown on tape? And we talked with Tim Polisic, the offensive coordinator, earlier today on the radio show, and he said, okay, we got to tell our guys, you're going to see something out there that we haven't seen on film. The problem is, the deal is, how do you react to it?
I'm curious to see how they react. USD, they went on the road, and that was a game we picked against them. We both had UC Davis winning. They went out in California and won, backed it up with a big win over Drake. But then the last 2 weeks against Valley teams, Youngstown and Western have really took it to them.
Well, 2 weeks ago was the first GPI, which is the Gridiron Power Index. And I know a lot of people don't take a whole lot of stock, most notably the playoff committee.
Yeah, the committee does not,
But I think it really bears a lot of strength. And in fact, it has the Valley #1 by a long shot. And to answer your question, I think when South Dakota got into the Missouri Valley play, the GPI, the power really showed up.
No doubt. Later on today's show, we'll visit with Doug Vraz, that's Zach Vraz's dad, about setting the all-time school reception record mark. He's a touchdown shy of tying it, 30 yards away from breaking it. I think he's got a good shot to do that later today against USD. Mick Gary will also join us from the Sioux Falls Argus Leader to give us an in-depth look at USD, where the Coyotes stand now, how long Joe Glenn has, if this might be his last hurrah. We've heard that as well. That's all coming up later in today's show over the next half hour. I mentioned off the top, Big E, NDSU's going for a 27th straight home win. There have been some times where they have had a chance to lose. Last week, most notably against Northern Iowa. What comes to mind? Why is it that they have this streak going?
Well, 1, talent. They have a lot of good players. 2, the atmosphere, great crowd. And 3, a little luck. I mean, you got to get a little lucky at some of these games. And sometimes you create your own luck by having talented players and making big plays in certain situations. So you just roll all that together, and let's go to quarterback play too. You go from Brock Jensen to Carson Wentz. There's a lot to be said with having a guy be under center who can perform when the stuff's kind of going crazy there.
I think it shows the balance this team's had in special teams, offense, and defense, because all 3 phases have played a role in all 26 straight wins. I mean, you look at the Montana game, that was Adam Keller's school record 5 field goals. You look at last week, the offense bailed out the defense. And the defense, I mean, over the course of time has been really good. They've outscored the 26 teams by 35-13. So they're, you throw a few shutouts in there, but I think it just shows the team aspect that NDSU has in this streak.
They're also, Biggie, there's been some really good teams. That Georgia Southern team that came here in 2012, they could have won the national championship in that. I firmly believe if they would have beaten NDSU, they would have won the whole thing. And that Coastal Carolina team that came here last year, they could have done some damage as well.
That Georgia Southern team, Jerick McKinnon's in the NFL, J.J. Wilcox is playing safety in the NFL, NDSU has some guys in the NFL. That may be the most talented 2 teams we've seen play in the Fargo Dome ever.
I've never seen a faster player than Jerick McKinnon.
And But you look at how many close calls they've had. It's just and Chris Kleiman told us that on Monday. It's about how winning teams prepare, and that's maybe the biggest key for this week's game against South Dakota.
But who scored those last-second touchdowns? Who's made those last-second plays? It's the NDSU quarterback. Yep. They've had the better quarterback over the course of this streak. Well, and that includes Jarek McKinnon.
Yeah, he's been in there as well.
Well, there's been balance, too. I mean, you have Darius Shepard, a redshirt freshman, make the catch. You know, last week against Northern Iowa in the playoffs, R.J. Yerzendowski, a true freshman. So they've had the quarterback do it, but on the other end, they've had some young players make some big plays as well.
Going to be an outstanding day here today, and we'll talk more about what South Dakota has to do against NDSU later in today's show. I look at the Valley. There are 2 other games today that certainly have our attention. One in Youngstown, that's South Dakota State playing the Penguins later today, and Northern Iowa hosting Western Illinois. The Leathernecks have a great chance to show everybody, hey, we're for real if they go into the Unidome and win today.
Well, we'll see if Northern Iowa comes back after that emotional game. You talk about the emotional rebound factor. I think Northern Iowa has, and I think Youngstown, there's a payback game for them too, because last week
that was tough.
Didn't go so well in the critical stages.
Illinois State came back and won that game late, got a winning 2-point play that you can debate about, but I think Kolpack hit the nail on the head to see how Northern Iowa rebounds. The teams, after they play the Bison the week after, it's kind of a hangover effect. I'm curious to see what happens with UNI today. I
just think them being at home might be the edge that they need. I think they can feed off their home crowd if things don't go well early in the game or if they're a little sluggish. And that you saw how good that defense is. I think that defense can rise to the occasion again and play well. And between Aaron Bailey and Sawyer Cole-Morgan, I think they're going to find a way to score enough points.
Their defense could close. I mean, they could close hard.
No doubt about that. We'll take a break. We come back. We'll visit with NDSU's all-time leading receivers, Dad, about coming back for his 6th year. The Bison pregame show live outside the Dome rolls on WDAY.com.
More plays. More coverage. More sports. Stay ahead of the game. Get your sports fix with Sports Sunday. Sunday nights at 10:35. Sports Sunday is brought to you by Nelson Auto Center in Fergus Falls.
This is your livelihood, and success requires a seed partner that's just as committed as you are. Just like you, we're farmers first, so our values are rooted just as deep and our goals are just as strong. Our team is ready to hit your fields, so no matter what each growing season brings, we'll get through it together. It's who we are. Thunderseed, first in the field.
The specialists are so important because they're the ones that can take your team from average to great. The guys that have their specialized roles and understand them and do them really well, those guys are hard to find. And so when you have those guys that are good at what they do and believe in what they're doing, don't care too much about who gets the credit and want to go out and prove something, I think that that is probably the most important ingredient in a successful team.
Choose the experts. Choose Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Peterson Farm Seed presents Ag Week TV every weekend. Ag News expert Shauna Olson, trusted meteorologist John Wheeler, and the expertise of the entire Ag Week staff will bring you the latest in ag news, lifestyle, experts, tech, and trends.
If it's important news to you, it's important news to us at Ag Week TV.
Ag Week TV, delivering the complete ag picture every weekend.
Welcome back, everybody, live outside the Fargo Dome as the Bison Media Blog pregame show rolls on. Along with Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. We're pleased to be joined by Grandpa's dad. That makes sense to everybody. As Doug Vrah joins us, that's Zach Vrah's dad. He's been deemed Grandpa. First off, thanks for doing this. Second, 6 years to be on this, to be affiliated with this team and with this school. Describe this experience for you and your wife.
Oh, it's been unbelievable. These guys, the whole Bison family, from the fans to the coaches, have really brought us in. I mean, being from Minnesota, and when Zach was looking at schools, he said, well, I'm thinking of going to NDSU, and I was like, NDSU? And he's like, yeah. And we started meeting the coaches. We came up here. it's been great. Everybody's treated us like family. It's absolutely once a Bison, always a Bison.
You know, I was listening to Joe Biden, will he run for not? I think it's a big decision for Biden since Zach Vra, would he come back or wouldn't he? Remember, take us back from your angle. Did you think he was going to play another year? Did he talk to you? What were the pros and cons?
He talked to us. The pros and cons were, the cons were basically he wouldn't be playing with the he came in at that 2010 graduating class, and his shoulders, you know, how's his body going to take all this beating? It's been a long season for him. The pros are, he was having fun.
Yeah.
You know, they've been winning championships. It was just, he'd had an opportunity to play where other guys couldn't.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of guys, a lot of his teammates wish they could play another year, and he could.
I want to go back to 2009. NDSU was 3-8 that year. You were just describing a little bit about the recruiting process. Describe how that went, and did you know anything about this school when Craig Bohl called you guys up?
No, I didn't know anything about the Bison until Zach mentioned that this is where he was thinking of going. All of the coaches, when they came by, were very professional, friendly, inviting. We felt completely comfortable in handing him over to them to raise, basically, is what they were doing because they were spending so much time with them.
By the way, thanks for the Mona Raw chili, by the way, for bringing it. This stuff,
second reference.
I'm going to put the recipe on our media blog because I already had it on there once. I've made it, and it's outstanding. But the tailgating atmosphere, you talk about the chili and the chips and everything. How, can you give this up? Are you coming back?
It's kind of hard. I mean, that 2010 class, I mean, even the parent, not just the players got close, but all of the parents got really close too. And it's kind of, we kind of miss them. So when every once in a while, when they come to the game, to the tailgating, it's been really fun to get with them.
Just let's go back to 2010, 2011. I'm sure you had a lot of heart-to-hearts with Zach after breaking both collarbones and breaking a second one, or another one a second time. How discouraged did he get? What were the conversations like?
He got pretty discouraged. I mean, he really wondered if he was meant to play football.
Yeah.
And it was more, it was something he really wanted to do, so he said, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to see what happens. We never thought it would turn into this. Not one bit.
And he still has the plates, correct?
He does still have the plates. He'll leave them in unless they bother him.
Okay.
When did you notice that? Was it anything noticeable? He said one shoulder is, he told me his one shoulder is taller than the other. Or higher than the other.
Yeah, that's more from that AC that he got. It never quite had healed correctly, so.
Well, I think he has a chance at the next level because, I mean, look at the stats just by themselves. He'll be the all-time leading receiver in this school. Do you think he has a shot? And is he telling you, does he want a shot?
He'd like a shot, sure. Yeah. You know, but it all seems to be someone else's decision. Yeah. You know, all he can do is say yes or no, but he's got to get that invite first.
Watching the game last week, were you counting the number of receptions? Did you know how many he needed, or were you just paying attention to the end of the game?
I knew he was close. Yeah. I didn't know exactly how many he needed, and I wasn't sure where he was. And after the game, somebody told me he needed 5, and I said, well, I think he only got 4. No, he got 5.
We asked him this week his favorite reception. What is yours?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I think that UNI one.
The fourth down one?
The fourth down one.
Yeah.
I thought that was probably...
It was much harder than what it looked.
Yeah. It was very hard.
Well, Brock threw it about 9,000 miles per hour on fourth down to score a touchdown. He's also got the rare opportunity, I know a lot of Bison fans, to go for the thumb. He would actually have 5 rings. What goes through your mind if you think that?
That's just...
That's insane.
Yeah. He's actually got a 6th ring. He's got the Mr. Football ring, too.
That's right. How much, also, before we let you go, for Twin Cities kids to come up here, because he was one of the first. Grant Olson, Billy Turner, Marcus Williams, they were all part of that class. But to open the door for Twin Cities kids to come up here, because we've seen a ton more after Zach came here.
Yeah, I think it really opened the doors for the Twin Cities to say, hey, there's a really good program up here that we should look at. There isn't just the Gophers. So.
Did you ever have any remorse of him not playing at Minnesota, or was it at all?
Not a lot. I mean, we pretty much left it up to him to go where he felt comfortable.
You know, the chili tastes better in Fargo, too. Dom, this is so good. You don't know what you're missing.
You're busy eating while some of us have to work. Enjoy the game today. Thanks for doing this, all right? Doug Vra, Zach Vra's dad, joining us here on the Media Blog pregame show. We'll take a break. We come back. We'll look at USD for 2015. That's as the Bison pregame show rolls on live outside the Dome.
For over 60 years, our focus has been you. A growing community needs a news source that grows with them. And you found that source in WDAY.
Good evening, everyone.
Our 6 p.m. newscast has been with you night after night. When the city comes to life or when news happens, you'll know. Dana Mock, Kirsten Keeley, out in the community, behind the desk.
It's had no major issues with users viewing offensive materials.
2 anchors you can trust. When the news hits, there's only one source to turn to. WDAY, the news leader.
Peterson Farm Seed presents Ag Week TV every weekend. Ag news expert Shauna Olson, trusted meteorologist John Wheeler, and the expertise of the entire Ag Week staff will bring you the latest in ag news, lifestyle, experts, tech, and trends.
If it's important news to you, it's important news to us at Ag Week TV.
Ag Week TV, delivering the complete ag picture every weekend.
Say goodbye to expensive window treatments and Saturdays filled with dusting. Minn Kota Windows offers blinds between the glass and select window styles and sliding patio doors. With low E glass, they're even more energy efficient. They're easy to operate, have a clean, efficient look, and control privacy, light, and heat. And the best part is, they're safe for kids and pets. Blinds between the glass from Minn Kota Windows. Midwest built, Midwest tough, guaranteed for life.
Minn Kota Windows, windows for your world.
Where do you go for the latest news in agriculture? Ag Week Magazine. Reaching over 30,000 farmers and ranchers in North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, and Montana. Ag Week provides the most up-to-date information on the markets, the trends, and the people who make it all happen. We're your source for news, not fluff. Dependable, trusted. Ag Week. Subscribe today by calling 1-800-811-2580.
Welcome back, everybody, live on the Bison Media Blog pregame show, live outside the Fargo Dome, leading up to 2:30 kickoff between North Dakota State and the University of South Dakota. Our pleasure to welcome in the leader of the Jeff Kolpack fan club, the one and only Mick Gary from the Sioux Falls Argus Leader. It's always good to see you.
A lot of people have not been keeping up with their dues in this club, and I'm the guy who's got to go out and get the money.
By the way, the last winner of the Ed Kolpack Media Award in Division II North Central Conference.
Is that right?
Couldn't think of a more deserving member.
It's been remarked upon that they waited for me to be last because they didn't want to give it to me at all.
Well, let's talk some USD football. 2-3 entering today, 0-2 in the Missouri Valley. Describe how this season has went. It got off to a really tough start when Kevin Earl had to basically quit football, the starting quarterback, with a back injury. That was a tough deal, man. It was kind of weird. The one good thing about it was that they knew in spring ball basically that he was done. And so they were able to tell Ryan Sager that, okay, you're the dude now, and they gave him all the snaps in spring and all the snaps in the fall, and kind of hoped for a little jump in performance and maturity from him. And they actually, that part of this process has not gone too bad. He's had a couple of tough games in there, but they were games where the offense overall was tough, having some problems. He's not their problem right now. He might not be this all-conference level guy, but he's definitely doing what they expected him to do right now.
You know, hands down, my favorite coach to cover over the years has been Joe Glenn. You talk about a quotable guy, a personable guy. Goes back to Northern Colorado, then he went to Montana, and then he comes back. Some guys you just sort of go round and round with. This could be his last year. Isn't that the rumor? I mean, what do you think?
I don't have any inside information on that, but I'd be surprised if he comes back next year. He's 67. He's not one of those guys who lives and dies, and you know, he's going to be trying to get a football gig until he's 150 years old. He enjoys life, and there are other things besides football for him, so I would guess this is his last year. Has he gotten to the program, you think, to the level where to give it to a younger, a hotshot guy with recruiting to say, okay, the program, I took it as far as I can, and it's up to you to take it to the next level? Well, I think he's done a good job of building up the back end of the program. He's built up the depth a little bit. He's kind of cleaned up the academics that were lingering, a little bit of a lingering issue in the program. He's done all those things. What he's not been able to do is get those top 10 guys. Yeah. And the difference makers, the playmakers, the program really hasn't seen a lot of those types of guys come through the last few years, and that's one of the reasons their record is what it is.
You know, I wrote a column this week that the problem for USD was that it was late to the party, you know, with the Division I move. And I think it's hard. The timing was not on their side. They came into the league when the league all of a sudden is at an all-time high with national titles and GPI and power rankings. You know, is it timing? Your thoughts on the timing issue?
When they first went FCS, they played in the
Great West.
Yes. Kind of that orphanage sorts.
It is for D1 football.
And they got a slice of FCS football, but they got it like 4 or 5 times a year. And they didn't understand, and you're right, that this conference evolved into this spectacular FCS powerhouse deal right as they were dipping their toe in the water.
Yep.
And when you couple that with the amount of kind of the rehab of the program that was going on at the time, and all of a sudden you got to play, even a 2-6 team is really most weeks a pretty darn good team. You're going to have to play pretty well to beat them. And it was kind of a perfect storm, I think.
Yeah, right place at the wrong time.
No. What is it going to take, I guess, Mick, to go from where they've been to a 7-4, 8-3, a chance to contend for a playoff spot?
I would say that you definitely got to build up the facilities a little bit. The facilities there are down at the bottom end of the conference, and they certainly understand that now, and they understand the impact, the ramifications of not being quite up to speed on facilities. So that would be their next move. They have an basketball arena going up there. That's going to clear up some room in the dome for training and office space and locker room space. But the next project has to be getting that dome shaped up a little bit.
Is it big enough? It's 10,000 though. I mean, what can you do?
You see, there's a lot of things. I don't think they can increase the capacity of the place, but they can sure as hell make it nicer.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big deal. And 10,000 people that's probably enough for them. It's a town of 5,000. You don't have quite that community craze that you have in a place like this, and 10,000 is probably enough, but they got to fix it up.
Before we let you go, just looking at their cross-state rival and looking at South Dakota State and the progression they've done, is that the impetus to say, and they've already announced they're moving cost of attendance as well, to say, hey, we've got to keep up with the Joneses here?
I think so, and I think the president, Jim Abbott, he's been there for a while and really has done a lot for that school in sports recently, but overall for the last 15 years on campus. And I think he gets it now, and that's probably a comfort to the administration and the coaches who are there right now, that he knows they got to do some things.
You need the president on board, that's for sure.
You got a prediction today?
I'm thinking about 7 touchdowns to 1 touchdown. Honestly, I mean,
that'd be 70-7 by my count.
It's been they've had tough games against these guys.
Yes.
They have not played as well as they can play, which is not guaranteeing that they would win these games. I'm not saying that at all, that their A game would ever be good enough. But they played poorly in addition to being out-physicaled and all that other stuff.
Great stuff as always. Enjoy the game. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mick.
Gary from the Sioux Falls Argus Leader. Cover his stuff. You can also follow him on Twitter as well. We'll come back, give you an update on the injuries the Bison have heading into today's game with USD, and still to come, our predictions as well on this Saturday. Back live right after this.
This is your livelihood, and success requires a seed partner that's just as committed as you are. Just like you, we're farmers first, so our values are rooted just as deep and our goals are just as strong. Our team is ready to hit your fields, so no matter what each growing season brings, we'll get through it together. It's who we are. Thunderseed, first in the field.
Peterson Farm Seed presents Ag Week TV every weekend. Ag News expert Shauna Olson, trusted meteorologist John Wheeler, and the expertise of the entire Ag Week staff will bring you the latest in ag news, lifestyle, experts, tech, and trends.
If it's important news to you, it's important news to us at Ag Week TV.
Ag Week TV, delivering the complete ag picture every weekend.
More plays. More coverage. More sports. Stay ahead of the game. Get your sports fix with Sports Sunday. Sunday nights at 10:35. Sports Sunday is brought to you by Nelson Auto Center in Fergus Falls.
The specialists are so important because they're the ones that can take your team from average to great. The guys that have their specialized roles and understand them and do them really well, those guys are hard to find. And so when you have those guys that are good at what they do and believe in what they're doing, don't care too much about who gets the credit, and want to go out and prove something. I think that that is probably the most important ingredient in a successful team.
Choose the experts. Choose Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
The Media Blog Injury Report, brought to you by Sanford Orthopedics.
Live here on the Bison Media pregame show, we'll do our Sanford Health injury update. We'll start with the starting center for the Bison, Jeff Austin Kunert, who will not play today. He's out with an elbow injury. That means Zach Zemer is in.
Looks like 2 weeks probably for Mr. Kunert. Zemer came in, though, and did well in down the stretch run.
How big a deal is this?
It could be huge because the center, you just can't throw somebody in there. Yeah. But Zemer's playing a little bit, so I think it'll be all right.
Let's talk running backs, Big E. Chase Morlock is still not 100%. And Lance Dunn, who did not play last week with a hamstring injury, will not play again this week.
I think it means we'll see more of Bruce Anderson, but I think NDSU wants to see if they can get Morlock closer to 100%. He just doesn't have the pop through the hole that he had early in the season before he twisted that ankle, so that's one thing to monitor today.
I think they'd like to shut him down. I really do.
Darius Shepard with one shoulder is still pretty good, maybe better than most wide receivers with 2.
I guess the thing we'll have to chart is he available for only a half today, and if it is, it's the first half. I'm sure they'll play it by ear, and if they feel like they can limit him, they might have to limit him because I'm sure they want to get that thing to 100% health.
Also keep an eye on true freshman Dimitri Williams. He's been trying to come back from an injury as well, may get into the football game if he's ready to go. We'll take a break, we come back. Time for our Saturday selections. Everybody is waiting. The belt came out last week, folks, so it's not coming out today. That's coming up right after the break here on the Bison pregame show.
The specialists are so important because they're the ones that can take your team from average to great. The guys that have their specialized roles and understand them and do them really well, those guys are hard to find. And so when you have those guys that are good at what they do and believe in what they're doing, don't care too much about who gets the credit, and want to go out and prove something, I think that that is probably the most important ingredient in a successful team.
Choose the experts. Choose Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Say goodbye to expensive window treatments and Saturdays filled with dusting. Minn Kota Windows offers blinds between the glass and select window styles and sliding patio doors. With low E glass, they're even more energy efficient. They're easy to operate, have a clean, efficient look, and control privacy, light, and heat. And the best part is, they're safe for kids and pets. Blinds between the glass from Minn Kota Windows. Midwest built, Midwest tough, guaranteed for life.
Minn Kota Windows, windows for your world.
Peterson Farm Seed presents Ag Week TV every weekend. Ag News expert Shauna Olson, trusted meteorologist John Wheeler, and the expertise of the entire Ag Week staff will bring you the latest in ag news, lifestyle, experts, tech, and trends.
If it's important news to you, it's important news to us at Ag Week TV.
Ag Week TV, delivering the complete ag picture every weekend.
For over 60 years, our focus has been you. A growing community needs a news source that grows with them. And you found that source in WDAY.
Good evening, everyone.
Our 6 p.m. newscast has been with you night after night. When the city comes to life or when news happens, you'll know. Dana Mock, Kirsten Keeley, out in the community, behind the desk.
This had no major issues with users viewing offensive materials.
2 anchors you can trust. When the news hits, there's only one source to turn to. WDAY, the news leader.
All right, last segment, we saved the best for last. Time for our Saturday selections here live on the Bison Media Blog pregame show. We mentioned it off the top, Jeff. There are some really interesting games that are going to take place in the Missouri Valley today. Let's start Western Illinois, Northern Iowa. I got the Panthers today.
Well, I think I have the Panthers too, just because they're at home. But I think this is Western Illinois' time to say, okay, is it a pretender or a contender?
Northern Iowa at home. I think they're going to have enough left in the tank from last week. It's a must-win now. They know they can't slip up too much more from here on out if they want to make the postseason.
South Dakota State at Youngstown State. The Jacks off a win against Indiana State at home. Youngstown off a crushing loss to Illinois State last week. But the
Jacks have a true freshman quarterback going today, and Taryn Christian on the road for the first time. I think that's too much, especially at Youngstown. I think is a little reeling from last week.
Going to the Ice Castle. What do you think?
I think Pelini's going to have him fired up because he was a little fired up at the end of that game last week.
No doubt about that. Let's talk about the game here this afternoon. 2:30 kickoff between NDSU and USD. The Coyotes have not won in Fargo, Jeff, since they were playing outdoors at Dakota Field. 1978, a 17-14 win. The last time USD beat NDSU at all was 2002. You'll remember that at the Dakota Dome. 4 overtime game. USD won that one 40-37. This has been a series dominated by NDSU. 147-7 over the last 3 years, Big E. Do you see an upset today in your crystal ball?
Well, I think I'm going to make this an ode to Joe Glenn, because back in the day he had a little success against NDSU. So let me pull this out.
Going to the props.
First time I've ever had a book on the show. Bartlett's Book of Familiar Quotations in honor of Joe Glenn. He's the best post-game sound ever. He could fill a book of this with some of the comments. This week he said, yes, NDSU's home winning streak may end by the end of time, was like the qualifier at the end. So I don't think it's getting close to the end of time yet. Therefore, I see NDSU 35, USD 14. This is in honor of Joe Glenn. Kolpack can write Joe Glenn's book of famous quotations when his career is over.
How about that? A book for the first time on the pregame show. I've got NDSU taking care of business today. I think we see Easton stick for a majority of the second half. I think the Bison win today, 30-14. I think they're going to win 30-14. Yes.
Well, I have ode to Joe Glenn part. Give me that book.
I love that.
Do you know that Joe Glenn invented Cowboy Tough? We were giving. It wasn't Craig Bull.
It wasn't Craig Bull. No.
It was Joe Glenn when he was at Wyoming. Cowboy Tough. But I'm going to miss Joe Glenn if this is his last year. He's been my favorite coach to cover. I'd love to predict a Joe Glenn win. I really would. But it's not going to happen today. They're not going to be Cowboy Tough. I got 33-13.
I think Cowboy Tough's on page 235.
Is it? I'll check it out.
It's there. It's Joe Glenn got the credit too, so they got it right.
That's a big book.
It is pretty good. Famous quotations. Only a Big E to bring out a book.
That's the only book you've ever read, isn't it?
All right, thanks to Mick Gary and Doug Vrah for stopping by today, and for our terrific hosts with the Nefla Express. We make sure, Chris, we get a shot of that before we leave here today. They hosted Kolpack. They gave us some great food as well. Our thanks to our hosts. Live pregame blog begins at 2 o'clock, kickoff at 2:30. We're back after the game with the postgame show with complete highlights and reaction as well on WDAY as the Bison go for a 27th straight home win. We'll see you next week in Terre Haute.